I just want to test a couple audio things to make sure it's working before we get too far ahead. Let's just double check the audio in a second here, guys. Thanks for holding on tight. Last time I started this video and then I couldn't, it was bad. I did the whole video and didn't realize my audio wasn't working. Not ideal. Okay, it seems like the audio is working, so we're gonna turn that off and we're gonna get right. Not ideal. Oh, okay, pause that. Let's go over here. All right, so we're about to start breaking down the P12 race from the over the weekend. Just get the chat going. If you guys are watching on Twitch, be sure to just kind of drop a thing in the chat, say hi, say what's up, and let's get this going. So, start of the race. And it's kind of cool in COVID now. We do these, Formula One grid starts, but we don't actually start like this because it's neutral, but they line us up like this. Keep everyone a little bit socially distanced in the beginning. We're going to be kind of jumping a little bit. I don't want to show you guys too much of the boring stuff. So, let's see. All right, we're off now. So, to start this race, we have effectively kind of a neutral point all the way to, there we go. I wanted to make sure I could hear. I don't think that's a little loud. So, it's neutral to the top of the hill now. Nothing crazy, but this race, oh, the wind was nuts. So, for me, I kind of knew this wind was nuts. And honestly, being able to handle your bike in a crosswind is not a guaranteed skill. So here's the situation. So I knew that we're going to go to the top, and right where they start the race is it goes from being, effectively a very reasonable headwind if you're sitting in there to an all-out crazy fest of a crosswind. So this is me just kind of hovering at the front. It's neutral, so energy and spinning doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I'm in a good point. So I'm going to duck right across the road here to make sure I'm on the downwind side. So if anyone is on my right, I'll get a good draft. But also when it inevitably gets strung out, I'm in a good position. But so we're going to kind of just show you guys how this goes. So pretty instantly in it, what happens is we make this turn. No one really wanted to do anything in this race. Despite that there's some major teams represented, this guy in front of me is a crazy good sprinter. He actually was, I guess, forcefully bumped into the Cat 2s after winning 3 Cat 3 sprints on the same course by himself. Unfortunately, in P12 races, simply only having one move to play, which is being a sprinter, doesn't do much for you because the base fitness level that you need to be in these races is incredible. So we're just I'm getting a great draft right now. These guys are all on my right. This guy so this is one of the major teams, the one that just went off the road. That's the Rio Grande Elite Cycling Team. They're a domestic elite team based in Fort Collins. I think the Rio Grande is a restaurant chain. I've gone there on date night a couple times. And then this gentleman in front of me, his name is Robbie Wade. We've actually raced numerous times together all over the world. He is a former pro triathlete. Awesome dude overall. And he was racing for Groove, which is going to be these Navy kits. And they had definitely the most dominant team. But in the race, I want to say they probably had close to 7 riders in this race. And then there's this stud over here. This is Colby Lane. So Colby is probably the best, domestic pro right now. He races for Wildlife Generation, and in this race he does have a teammate, but he's come to these races and he's been cleaning up lately. With that, though, you kind of already know what's going to happen. Colby's going to get in the move, Colby's going to attack the move, Colby's going to win. Coming through this corner, I almost get swiped by this guy on my left there. But so going into this race, I knew, all right, the only thing that's important is watching Colby. So I just wanted to make sure I could stay on Colby's wheel, especially with the wind. I wanted to be at the front, and I wanted to stay with Colby. Because those things are just going to result in me getting in the move organically. Now, word of advice, if you're a Cat 3 and you jump into P123 race, don't don't be overconfident and don't do things you can't. This gentleman right here in the orange has no business up here. And that's just the reality. He's up here, he's spending energy, he's trying to play with the big boys. This guy here in the black and neon, he's trying to play with the big boys, but he can't hold wheels. I have to go around him right now, and look at this effort I'm doing. 600 watts to get back onto Colby, because right now, all right, alarms are belling. Colby's going off the front. We're about to hit a crosswind section. Need to get back up to him. He bridged to this Rio rider that kind of took a flyer, but this Rio rider's a crafty guy, so for him, he was just kind of, it wasn't too bad. So I'm back onto his wheel. Almost looks like he's trying to flip me through with his elbow. So he's up there, and we're going up to this top part here, and this is where the crosswind is. So as soon as we take this corner, crosswinds just get hit. Robbie Wade kind of comes on my inside here, and then for some reason I went way too wide and decided I'm going to go around this over expenditure. So that kid in the orange is done. We're a lap in, he burned every single match he's got. And now, basically, the beginning of the move is starting to happen. People aren't going to be able to close gaps in this crosswind. And look who we already have placed. We have 2 Rio guys. We got a Robbie. We got Colby. We have most of the major players here. So I'm sitting pretty happy, except for the fact I'm being bludgeoned by the wind. Colby's pulling off because he doesn't want to do anything. Robbie's going on. But the problem is you're not getting too much of a draft, really, because you're fighting the crosswind so much. I'm just kind of trying to keep an eye out to see what's about to happen. Just kind of waiting, going through. And then right there, that's Colby's teammate. It's Finn, something complicated last name-wise. He goes off, takes a flyer. I'm not too worried, but I want to make sure I'm there. Because the bigger situation is that Colby can bridge to any move that happens. So you kind of want to be in almost every move, because you know that even if Colby isn't initially there, he's going to get there. So we get there. We have a gap right now, and this Rio guy just kind of punches it. I think he saw the gap, and he just, in his mind, he was just like, I'm going to just go for it. We're going to muscle this gap out, and then we're going to see what's going to happen. Now, this is the downhill section, and you have a ripping tailwind right here, which shoots you into this long corner. So it's a little hard, because when you guys are both going so fast, but I've taken this corner about 1 billion times at this point, so I'm trying to corner into him. I can make up a little ground, but it's not ideal. I think on this exit corner I can make up kind of this last stretch. I pick it up a little bit. Finally, now that we're in a headwind, I can get in his draft. Still took a little bit big of an effort. I kind of decided to go right back around him to keep this gap rolling, because we have a gap at this point. I want to say that there's a third gentleman on my wheel at this point. So I know that it's the 3 of us. I know that we have a gap, but I don't want to be doing too much effort. I already raced earlier in the day, and as you can see, my heart rate's already at 181, which is pretty much me tapping myself out at that point. So I need to come down. So I kind of am swinging wide here, but I don't totally accelerate quite in time, and I have to... Yeah, so this is... Okay, I was wrong on who it was, but this is why... So he races for the other team that's worth noting, which is Primal Audi. So he's a friend of mine, and then later in the day we'll see another friend who also races for Primal Audi. They're all this lime green black kit, so it's pretty easy to spot them out. So the gap is opened right now, and right now we're kind of waiting for Colby to bridge to us, because you could see him on that section. He was about to bridge to this group. I did not take that corner very well at all. So now we're back in the crosswind. I'm trying to sneak a little draft in on Wyatt right here. It's a little cheeky of me, but then he notices it, he sees me, and then he's just going to kind of flick me through. No one really wants to give anyone too much of a draft. It doesn't matter if you're friends or not. You know, in the beginning stage of the race, everyone's fighting for whatever's there. So I'm pulling through, and then here comes Colby. And that was kind of the last thing needed to know. Colby is now bridged. This is kind of something. This is where the errors started happening for me. So we have this group. This is the group of 7 of us. This is the winning move. And I kept doing what just happened, where you have 7 riders in a group. That's kind of too many for a breakaway, where you're going to get this big swing of someone like Colby, who's the strongest guy in the group, heads and shoulders, and guys that don't really belong, they're too weak there. So I kept doing what you're seeing me do now, which is closing gaps for no reason. I'm not as strong as Colby. I'm not even the second or third strongest guy in this group. But yet I'm riding my bike and wasting energy like I can do this all day. Look, my heart rate's already back up to 182. That's not good, especially on this downhill section where I need to be recovering. And instead of recovering, I'm still pushing pretty good power. I do like taking the lead into this corner just because I had taken it so many times. I was really comfortable with it. And I knew where I could be, but I keep doing the same silly thing of covering, letting someone else open a gap and then covering that gap. And that's just not good. So at this point, this is so this athlete right here, this guy's name is Josh. He actually came in from Arizona to do this race. Really strong guy. And I knew he'd come in from Arizona, so I was a little like, when you're racing at altitude, sometimes what can happen is you'll overexert yourself in the beginning and then you just can't recover and can't get quite back to it. So he come through, turned a couple poles, really strong dude. Super impressed with this guy. So he kind of flicks me through. I think we ended up having, weirdly enough, so this is the other, here's the other two guys. Henry York right here, the guy in front of me from Rio, was the 2019 Colorado State crit champ, so I knew who he was. I think everyone knew who he was. He's a really strong rider. I'm blanking on the other gentleman's name right there, but also really strong. And right now we're going into a headwind, and just to show how hard Henry's pulling, I'm coming out of his draft now, but even in his draft I was doing over 300 watts in his draft into a headwind. So now we're back into the annoying crosswind. I'm trying to pull off so someone else will come through, because at this point the alarm bells are starting to go off. Like, my heart rate is freaking jacked. And so this guy was really, really strong. One of the strongest guys in the group, but did not work at all. Would always do what he just did there. Pull through and then immediately flick other athletes through. There's the flick. He would always, he would never expend a match unless he absolutely had to. Or if he could expend his match in a way that would hurt you. So, he would, honestly, there's a couple times where instead of just taking a pull, he would just attack the group. I'm way too far up in the group right now, by the way. Look, this is a crosswind, and Colby's holding it to the right to kind of make it even harder. Like, I'm doing 460, 470 watts on his freaking 500 watts on his wheel. That's not ideal. So he finally flicks, and because he stays so far right, it was easy for me to kind of go over the top of him by just taking the proper line. So now we're back into the downhill. I took the better line, so now I'm able to at least bring down the watts and still keep the pace, which isn't bad. But again, I don't want to be at the front, and I don't want to be expending matches, because it's just, I'm not quite strong enough to be doing this effort. And eventually the riding will be on the wall, and you guys will see. So now here comes the rest of the group. They're all coming through. I make the ill decision of trusting this gentleman's wheel and this gentleman's wheel. So I'm sitting here, I see this gap opening. I'm now okay, so I have to go underneath of them, and look, now I have to close this gap. So now we're at 400, 500, 600. Do I go above 6? Back to 500 watts. So efforts like that is just the things that I should have been more aware of not letting gaps open. I just had to do a 500 watt effort for 10 seconds to close a gap to the group I was already with. It was just a complete waste of my matches and very inefficient of me. So now I'm still doing an effort. So now I'm finally back on to the group that I never should have gotten off of. I'm in the back, thankfully. So Josh is pulling off. I'm back on. We're still doing monster watts. I still haven't come under. I've been under 400 for most of this effort, honestly. Going back up, Henry took kind of a half-hearted pull. Now, I don't know what I did here, but I think I let this gap open. Now I have to reclose the gap that I already freaking opened like a goon. And he's kind of pulling away. So this is kind of where the writing is on the wall for me. At this point, I've been in the red zone for too long. I just did a massive effort closing a gap. Now I'm swinging back onto the group, and I'm just, 500 watts, and I'm still not making much of a head road into these guys. Finally, I have Robbie come on the side of me, and I don't have much left in me, so I kind of wait, let him come through. It's a crosswind right now, so don't think that I need to be directly behind him. Eventually, I do get behind him. He's flicking. I'm like, no, dude, I don't got whatever it takes. Josh just floats across. That looked super smooth, and he got right where he needed to be. We're finally just almost there, doing the pain dangle right now. Absolutely ripping the heart apart. Kind of there, kind of there. Robbie's working. And then just last saving grace, these guys sit up. They fan across the road. For some reason on the far right, so I take the inside line again to get back up to the front of them where I can relax. Come in here, try not to hit Barry taking a photo. Except I've rolled too far forward. This guy took a flyer. There's no reason I should chase this down. I am spent. Josh is more willing to do it. He's kind of telling people to rotate. This group, nothing that we've done has been smooth. Nothing that we've done has been efficient. It's been nothing but gaps opening, people closing gaps, people taking flyers. And don't get me wrong, this race had 30 people in it, 30 plus people in it, and we're already down to 7, and we haven't seen a single person since. I think honestly at this point we had something like a 40-second gap over the next group. So they took a great line through there. I don't remember. I'm really hoping that I don't accidentally close this down like an idiot. Taking that corner pretty well, holding my line. Okay, so I am easing up. So I'm hoping that someone else comes through. But this is a problem. So Colby goes flying through, and then I go, all right, I'm going to wait for the next guy. There goes Henry with it. Also gap to Colby, and there goes Robbie. And this is the big thing. I knew this guy was not strong enough to do this effort. And I was already fading. So I've already gone way too far back in the accordion. Look how big this gap is. And there's gaps between each of these guys. So now, I just didn't accelerate quick enough, and all of a sudden now, I'm off the back of this group. So I kind of, at this point, had to make the call of like, am I willing to completely slaughter myself to get back on with these guys or not? So I ended up, at this point, going, all right, there's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys up the front. I'm 7th. I know there's a nice big group behind. I can sit there. I can relax. I got a buddy. We can chat. So I make the call to, I'm just going to, we had such a big gap where I made the call that I'm going to just spin a lap, recover, and then I'm going to sit right back in there. So I have to cut forward so much. Okay, so here they go. This is an entire lap later on the top side. I finally got picked up by this group. So we got Jabez right here in the group, who's a good friend of mine, rides for Primal Audi. We got 1, 2 Groove Riders, and we got Colby's teammate from Wildlife Gen. And we have a kid who just went past, who was also really strong. So this group is a lot more of a chill pace. Like, you know, this group had already lost 40 seconds to the front group. I mean, that being said, we are still doing monster watts. You know, this group is still at no point going easy, but at no point was this group organized with any intention of catching Colby. And what had already happened up there, and you're going to be able to kind of see this, it takes us probably 20 minutes till this happens, but that group of Robbie Wade, the guy in the pink kit, and Henry York had actually gotten also dropped by Colby's group. So there's a group of 3 riders, a group of another 3 riders behind them, and then us. And unlike my decision to just spin a lap and go into this group a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable, knowing that this is what's going to happen, they're up there killing themselves to stay away instead of relaxing and coming back. So now we're just kind of pulling through. I wouldn't say we're working super well together, but there's more of us, and it's a little bit tighter. This guy in the reel right here was very adamant to do whatever it took to get a draft. So he would always do this kind of what he's doing now. He would sit like right in your blind spot. He would half wheel you right off your hip. Oh, so this is a good moment. This is a teachable moment right here. These 2 guys are being lapped. This guy pulls into the racing line, cuts everyone off. So, and he was being lapped. So, tough love here. I'm sorry, but you need to know when it's not your day. If you're being lapped, 2 things if you're being lapped. 1, you're going to know a couple things. If you're being lapped, first off, look behind. You know the group's coming. Do not swing in front of the group that's passing you. They're going a lot faster than you. They're properly racing. And it's super dangerous. I mean, that guy literally pulled, he almost sideswiped, the real guy went into the gravel so he didn't have to be on the wheel. So he almost sideswiped us. And the honest, hard, love truth is, if you're being lapped 25 minutes into an hour race, 26 minutes into an hour race, you probably should just go home. Or just at least pull off to the side. Just watch the race, get some enjoyment out of it. You're not going to unlap yourself. I mean, it's just nothing but a risk to everyone else in the course. You know, you're making yourself a danger. So you really should pull off. And then also kind of on that same notion of being lapped, right coming up here, like I talked about at the beginning of Don't Be a Hero, is the little kid in the orange who was trying to be a hero on lap 1, got dropped, now he's lapped, chilling with this Masters rider who's chilling in the race too. I'm not about to pull through right now. I'm still pretty shreked from the effort. This wildlife gen guy really wants me to pull through though. So I finally just kind of come to the front. Thankfully, Jabez comes and takes my pole for me. And then I'm able to kind of slide back. So we're going to skip forward a little bit because nothing really happens. At this point now, this is really the next 20 minutes is just kind of what you're seeing now. It's our group is just rotating. We're just taking pulls. We're just doing what we can. I'm trying to not pull as much as I can. So we're going to jump all the way forward to when we catch the group of 3. Let's see if I can't find it for you guys. Let's see. I want to say it was around the 46-minute mark. All right, so there's us coming up through. Okay, so there's the 3 of them right up there. You can see them. So we haven't quite caught them, but at this point, we're kind of in the race flow at this point. We're 48 minutes into the hour race. That's how long those guys just pain dangled for out in front of us. And the simple reality is when it's this windy, you're not about to... The less people you have, the even more your disadvantages. And we're kind of echeloning, right? At this point, the wind direction actually changed. We're kind of facing more of a head. I would say it's more of a block headwind with a little bit of a cross. So you can see that we're echeloning, but I was kind of depending to get more of a benefit from being behind them just because of the way the headwind was. Even though this wildlife generation rider had a teammate up the road, he was not afraid to take some strong pulls. So we're just kind of going through right now. Sorry it's cutting out right here. Every time on this part of the course, we'd always kind of lose a bit of connection in the live stream. So let's see. 47. I believe we catch them on this next downhill. Let's see if we can't. So that's them in front of us. We are flying through. This is on the downhill right about to enter that corner. So Henry York, who was in that group of 3, is kind of just like, deuces, guys, this is ridiculous. But, you know, we're going through a corner, so he can, in theory, he can slot in quite easily, and he's about to slot in. So he sees us. You can see his cadence is picking up a little bit. He's taking the inside line of the corner. He's looking over, and then right now he's about to try and get on my wheel. But simultaneously, this Rio guy, he doesn't look right now, but he is putting in a massive dig. I'm doing 600 watts right now. He is 700. He is putting in this huge acceleration. The wildlife generation rider kind of sees what he does and takes up the reins and absolutely starts smashing it. Now, I don't totally comprehend why this kind of all transpired, because the Rio rider effectively just ensured that his teammate could not get onto the group that he was in, which isn't really... I don't understand. Why would you not want your teammate in your group? It is what it is, though. He put in a huge effort to make sure his teammate didn't get in the group. Fortunately, Robbie Wade, who was in that group of 3, was able to get into this one. So now we've done in the huge effort. Robbie's the only one who's gotten on. And we're chugging along just fine at this point. 51 minutes in, a little bit to go. I'm trying to recover right now because that effort was freaking hard that they just put in to ensure that their teammate didn't get on our group. But at the same time, I also do not like this one. This is the one section where it's like, you don't want to be in the front. And if you do go into the front, don't try and take a massive hero pull. You guys are going to see stragglers like this, but from now on, basically every time you see a person like this, they're about to be lapped. In this field, it was crazy. I think it was a total of 30 riders, and I think the highest place finisher that wasn't lapped was 9th. Like, that's how much of a crazy race this was. Of just people, I think 30 people started, I think 10 people DNF'd from just getting shelled, which, you know, if you're shelled, I don't really see the reason to ride it in. But there's Robbie, so he's able to kind of slot in for us. So each lap is about, I would say each lap is probably 3 minutes. I would say between like 2:30 and 3 minutes. I'm just talking to Robbie right now about how his all his breakaway companions all couldn't get back in. So now that we've caught them, we know that we're fighting for fourth at the time, which is relatively, that's a great place. In a P12 race with, UCI Continental Pros racing, fourth place is what we're fighting for. I mean, hell, honestly, at this point, just being in this group is a great result. So now the composition of the group is a little different on paper. This is a group athlete, even though his jersey is a little bit different, but he's on the same team as Robbie's. This is my friend Jabez, and at this point, him and I had actually chatted. I was kind of telling him, I'm like, look, dude, I don't really got a ton left in the tank at this point, so I'm going to sell out to lead you out in the finish, which we'll get to. But this athlete here, who's on the same team as Robbie, and kind of with the Rio team like you saw, I don't know what it is with these teams, but they do not ride as a team. They just kind of ride for themselves and wear the same jersey for convenience sake. At no point did this guy talk to Robbie. At no point did he try and hatch a plan or communicate how they could work together. They just kind of both happened to be in the race wearing I guess they don't look the same, but similar kits that have the same name on them. I ended up noticing that and started messing with the kid later in the race, but it's just something that I don't totally understand with a lot of these. Like, this is a P12 race. Like, why are these teams not coming here with a plan? I mean, the simple conversation that Jabez and I had where I was like, hey, coming into the last bit, I'm going to take the lead and I'm going to lead you out. That's more team tactics than pretty much any other team showed up to this race with. Taking the wide line on that corner it was always so much slower to take that wide line. So this Rio guy's taking up the charge. He's stoked because he attacked and dropped his teammate, so he's feeling like number one on that team right now. I think that maybe because it's like later in the season that people are fighting are trying to justify their like spots on their own team, so they're trying to, show, hey, I'm pretty cool. I finished first on this race of our team members, therefore I'm the best of the team members. Cool. It's something like that kind of mentality. Getting a nice draft here, only doing 120 watts. That's quite the breeze. Oh, look, my heart rate's actually down, 173. That's pretty normal for me. I can hold 173s all day. It's when I get into the 180s where it's like starting to panic, which is pretty hard in a crit because there's so many it's not like a time trial, it's a lot more accelerations and big accelerations. So I have to kind of like really notice. Like that's for me, I used to not look at my computer that much in a race, but once I started noticing just that 180 number of going, every time I see 180, that means you need to start focusing on doing less work. I really started doing a lot better in races because I started to know when I need to start saving matches. We are not moving in this downhill. At this point, the writing's on the wall. I want to say we're probably 2.5 laps to go right now. The writing's on the wall. The writing is we are going to go to the finish, and this group no one's going to catch this group, and we are not going to catch the people in front of us. So that's just kind of is what it is. I had to take the inside line on Robbie for some reason, and then I have to close to Robbie's teammate. I don't know why I did that. I think I just had a little bit too much momentum and ended up coming underneath him. So I'm back on this guy. I'm coming back on this guy. Sorry, I need to read that. And again, at this point, we're not. Yeah, 2 laps to go right now. No one's really about to just go to the front and lead it in strong. Everyone's just kind of doing what they can. This kid's just enjoying his time at the front. He really wanted to be on the front. I wasn't motivated. I'm not about to overtake him because why would I? But this guy also never tried to flick his elbow through. So, I mean, kudos for him. I mean, it's cool that you wanted to take a strong pull. It would have been cooler if you took a strong pull for your teammate, but it is what it is. I don't. Also with the weird lines, this kid would also take the widest lines, like out of that corner, going all the way to this side of the road, then coming back to the inside of the road, and then things just get kind of strange at this point in the race with 2 laps to go. It always plays out differently. Some fields just will start hammering like crazy if there's a lot of teammates, and some fields like ours. So again, he took the wide line out of that corner. I took the inside line. Not much of an effort at all, and overtook him, which I did not want to do. I don't want to be in the front, but I'm only doing 180 watts, so I'm just chilling. He's back to the front. Jabez is hanging out in his pocket. Robbie's doing Robbie. So at this point, Robbie just wanted to stare me down. He keeps looking back at me, winking at me, giving me that little smile. I'm starting to feel a little invaded, just staring at me, getting wily. And what's actually happening is he's getting ready to attack. He just kept looking at me for some reason. At this point, I'm like, no, I don't got anything left. So he goes, bang. His teammate's on the front, and his teammate's like, ooh, there goes my teammate. But I can't let him be the first of our team across the finish line. So he's kind of like contemplating that right now. Jabez is like, all right, should I go? And then this teammate's like, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to nail him back. I got this. Don't worry, boys. So he's putting in effort. Look, boom. I'm in their draft, and I'm doing 290 watts. That means this kid, boom, out of the saddle. We're fighting a headwind. That's why it looks a lot slower than it is. But this kid was not having any of it. He wanted to be number 1 on his team. He's going through. Sorry, I heard something behind me. And he's just, he's pumping the pace. He's going for it. The motorcycle's being weird. This kid kind of pinched me right there. I'm back on Jabez's wheel. I actually did so much power to get back on his wheel. I kind of just had a lot of momentum. I had to scrub off right there. He pulls wide, but again, so now we're going to 1 lap to go. So this is when I start to kind of think, all right, how do I best position myself to help him in the sprint? So I'm trying to stay kind of relatively near him or make sure that he's looking at me when at all possible, because after doing the part of 100 freaking laps of this course today, oh, here goes this teammate. Robbie's still at the road, so he's still trying to chase down his teammate. He's putting in a huge effort. Jesus Christ. I'm doing 800 watts right there. That's a lot of watts. So he's going hard to chase his teammate down. At this point, I got kind of bored, so I started messing with him pretty soon. But my plan was, as soon as we hit the downhill section, and especially into that corner, it doesn't really matter. As long as I have momentum, no one's going to come around me through that whole corner. So for leading him out, I could start right... Oh, this is me just telling him that he's doing a good job to chase down his teammate. It was weird because he, kind of got the joke, but didn't get the joke because he was actually doing what I was joking about. So this is just me. Okay, if you just heard me, I told him, I said, wait till the downhill, I'm going to be in front of him, because through that corner, it would be a massive effort to try and overtake the lead rider through that corner, even if you're sitting second wheel. And the way it comes out, it's a perfect lead out. Not to mention that I'm 6'3", and I think Jabez is probably 5'9". Oh, I'm back to encouraging this kid to get him to... It was fun messing with that kid. So now at this point, it's more like, make sure if anyone attacks, I'm on it. So this kid's launching. That's fine. This guy's covering. We're in a headwind. Oh, wow. I touched 1,000 there. We're in a headwind right now. So he shuts it down pretty quick once he realized it didn't get anywhere. This guy in the Rio had a crazy good snap on him. So I got on there, I shut that down. Now they're like, why are we on the front? This guy's also like, why am I on the front? So now we're all just easing up again. We're about to hit the downhill. Getting ready for the actual sprint. So I'm just kind of like, once I hit this corner, we're all good. Because then it's the downhill. No one's going to attack at that point, so it's just kind of like, wait for it. I know that Jabez is behind me, so I'm just kind of relaxed. I'm not going too hard. I'm just trying to keep the momentum high. So now we're finally starting to get that nice little bit of a tailwind. It's the downhill. I'm swinging out wide. So this is a good thing to know, is that you only want people to be able to overtake you from one side. So I'm swinging all the way to these cones, so that way people will, if they do try to overtake me, I can just see. All I have to do is look to the left, and I know that they're going to be there. At this point, I see the Groove guy is still determined to chase down his teammate, so he tries to come alongside me right here. So I pick up the pace right there. So now I have momentum. I'm going into this corner. it doesn't matter how much power I do because I have the momentum, I have the racing line, I'm putting out pretty good watts, so I have the pace. Just trying to stay on the race line. This is where I need a little bit of work on my lead out, so I should have started sprinting right here. That's where I should have opened it up. Instead, I kind of wait, look, and now I start to open it up. But Jabez comes down on the draft side and gets the sprint. Phenomenal job by him. This Rio guy almost got it, but like I said, because of how quick that was, even though he was sitting... Let's rewatch that. So here we go. We're going through the corner. So it's me, Jabez is on my wheel, and because of how freaking quick it is, and with the wind, even if you're second wheel, you still have a lot to make up. That means you have to make up 2 bike lengths to get the pass. So I'm opening it up, Jabez comes around the draft side, right there, and then this Rio guy comes off my wheel and just isn't even able to close on him because of how much ground he already had to make up. So it was a good race on everyone's part. It was an awesome job. So right now, kind of the plan is, with the live streams, this weekend, we're going up to Steamboat to do the Steamboat stage race. And what's going to happen is, we're going to go there. So tomorrow night, Saturday is the time trial. It's a brutal little 20K time trial. A lot of climbing. I'm quite nervous for it. Time trials really do suit me. The effort is much more what I'm built for. So this is the time trial course. It's a... you go out. This climb is kind of interesting. On paper, it looks a lot worse than it is. Basically, from this point all the way to here, all the way to like here, is a fairly low grade, just in your TT bars. But then it starts to really pick up for that section. For this section, it really gets a lot steeper. You can see it right here. You kind of, this is the part where you're out of the saddle, flattens, and then back up the saddle. But this is a really short section. That's, 800 meters. And then you're nice, screaming fast, straight line downhill right here. That's good fun. Negative 6%. Nice. Good, fun. And then you have to go back up that to finish the time trial. So then you have to go back up this average 7% grade, which is just... max 8, but the average 7 is a lot worse than the max, but that's going to hurt a lot. I don't know, it's so short, so they say it's an average category 4, but still, that's just pain. It's not even that long. I don't know why it's saying feet there, but, well, the reality is the climb really starts, like, there. So that made it. Okay, so now it's, why did the max grade change? It's not that long though, but so we're talking like 3 minutes at the end of the time trial, which is just going to be so much pain. So you go out, you flip the turn here, and then you come back up that climb. Worst of all, then you have to ride back to Steamboat after you're done with that entire race. So Friday night, I'm going to do a little pre-race chat with some friends. We'll be live on Twitch, so you guys can watch it. We'll just kind of talk about our feelings, how we're feeling going into the race, and then Saturday night we'll do a post time trial chat and talk about the road race, which is going to be a brute. This guy is... So when you see, like, all right, it's the elevation to ratio isn't that bad. Generally speaking, if you're saying 1,000 feet of gain per 10 miles, that's when you know you're for a big day. But what it is here is just that you're never really on flat. You're always lumpy. So none of these, this is the longest climb right here, which is in the time trial. This is, the longest one. That's probably, maybe 10 minutes, but you're not going to notice it for the first half. That's probably the longest one. And then there's a gravel section, which is, where's the gravel section? The gravel section starts at like 12 miles, so this is more or less the gravel section. This shows as a steady climb. This is not steady in the slightest. It's super undulating. I would say that when you actually ride it, you find out that it's about 50 meters up roller, a 40 meters down roller, and it's like that the whole time. And then you get back on the road here, you get a little kick. So the point is just that the road race is just hard. At all points, you're going to be either going up or down. So you're either going to be going a really big effort up the hills, recovering down the whole time. We do get one aid station for the entire 68 miles. It's it's only an aid station if someone from your team or girlfriend or whatever goes. So Brittany will be there to hand me a musette, which will be fun because I'll be hot at that point and would love some ice. But yeah, that's the road race. So I'm not sure. I'll be a little bit later tomorrow, but definitely plan on doing a live stream. Otherwise, thank you guys all for watching. It was really great chatting with you guys. I look forward to doing my next stream.